Tonight, are our children safe at local public schools? Many incidents this past year, including a double homicide across the street from one high school, suggest there's need for improvement.
Now, joining us tonight, a panel of Clark County School District administrators to discuss this past year and to help us look forward to what's to come in September. We'll begin on the topic of overcrowding and new construction. If you have a question on this subject, call now. The number to call is 649-3353.
And here to talk about overcrowding, Kathy Harney, who is the Executive Director of Comprehensive Planning and Management, Dr. Dan Newbern, President of the Clark County School Board, and Dr. James Pusley, Associate Superintendent. Welcome, panelists.
Now, to give you time to call in, we'd like to begin with a story we've put together on school overcrowding. Lonnie Levitt fought through the students at one high school to get a first-hand look at the crowds.
School hallways have the students feeling like packed sardines. Almost every high school student is aware of the overcrowding crunch.
Cramped. It's feel like you're being suffocated.
In the cafeteria, the lines are so long with all the students, and sometimes you don't, if you get there late, you don't get your lunch till the end of the period, and you end up being late to class again.
Our high schools are bursting at the seams. The biggest high school in the city, Rancho, has 1,000 new students squeezed into it this year, a school that was already filled to capacity. And Las Vegas High is crowded by nearly 600 more students than the buildings can hold.
The school district is handling the extra load of kids. For every 25.5 new students who come into the Las Vegas area, the school district is hiring a new teacher.
This means the teacher-to-student ratio is staying the same, and educators say the students aren't suffering in the classroom. It's the teachers who are being put out, literally. To handle the extra students and the extra educators in the same school, some teachers are designated as rovers, a teacher who doesn't have his or her own room. Instead, he floats from classroom to classroom.
It's a little harder, and you try to do the best you can with the situation that you're in.
There's no quick fix, but rooms have been divided, and 417 portable classrooms have been placed around the city. Lonnie Levitt, News 3.
And in case you haven't heard yet, Nevada is among the highest in the nation for teacher-student ratio. So that's one thing we would like to talk about tonight.
Well, you know, Dave, there's a lot of construction going on in Clark County to help combat all of these people that are moving into Clark County. We're going to turn to Kathy Harney right now and ask her about some of the things that are being done to control this and how the construction, what kind of construction, and how many schools are being built in our area.
Well, over the 10-year program of the bond, 77 schools, but the immediate concern would be the schools that would be in this first year, so to speak. That involves 5 elementary schools. 3 elementary schools will open this fall from pay-as-you-go. Those are remaining projects. 5 would be additional bond. Then we have going to bid this summer 3 senior high schools and a junior high school at a minimum. We also have a small senior high school, Virgin Valley Senior High School. So new construction is the long-term permanent solution to overcrowding, but there are a lot of temporary measures needed as well.
Kathy, maybe we should get to some of the questions that we've been asking our viewers to call in since the beginning of our 5 o'clock news, and we remind you that you can continue to call straight through till 7 o'clock. One person who just flat out asked, when's the Green Valley High School going to be built? And are you down to that point where you know exactly when and they're going to be finished?
Project is not only on schedule, it's really accelerated a bit from the first news that we had given on our public report. We look to be bidding that project this summer, August to September, I would say. So we're talking about an opening during the 90-91 school year.
Okay.
We've talked about portables. We can go to Dr. Newbern now. There has been some criticism that the money is being spent, like Kathy Harney just said, on a temporary solution, whereas we should save that money and maybe use it down the line for the permanent structures.
Well, I think that we have the children now, and at least my rationale for encouraging that there be more portables was so that we could put the kids in portables now as opposed to other remedies which were double sessions. And I have yet to find anybody who can tell me that 10 years from now we're not going to need the portables that we're going to be using now and moving from school to school. So we can either pay for them now or we can pay for them later. We need them now. It just makes sense to pay for them now.
I was going to say, those portables are not a lost cause, are they? I mean, they're not so portable anymore. They've been made almost permanent structures, many of them, and they'll be used for many years to come, won't they?
Well, the new portables that the district is purchasing are going to be easier to move. In fact, we have pretty strong assurance that if at some time we find that we have an excess of them, that we'll be able to resell them.
Okay.
Dr. Pusley, maybe you can tackle this one. Every time at school board meetings we hear infuriated parents, some want year-round schools, some don't want year-round schools. That may be an answer to the overcrowding problem. It may not be. Is there a solution? Are some people just going to be happy with that or not? And are we going to continue with year-round schools in our county?
Well, I would hope that we would continue with year-round schools. In fact, I would advocate additional year-round schools. It is one of the solutions. Obviously, there are others as well. And in the past, we have initiated year-round school schedules simply to accommodate the overcrowded conditions. But now we're trying to move a bit from that and do it for program purposes because there are some definite advantages program-wise.
Mm-hmm.
We have another question from a person who called in, and I don't know if their information is right, but they're asking, why is Mountain View still using dangerous well water for drinking? Do any of you know anything about dangerous well water at Mountain View?
I know a bit about the subject.
Okay.
We have an opportunity to exchange the water and hook up to North Las Vegas water at Mountain View. It's a project that's been discussed for a number of years. I think originally a project was estimated about $80,000, and now it's into a more reasonable ballpark. The water is safe. It has to be tested after certain episodes, but it's a constant testing process that goes on.
Another question from a viewer that just came in. Why are most of the schools in our area one-story instead of multi-story? That could take care of some of the overcrowding problem. Who'd like to go for that one?
Well, that's a good question. I've asked that.
We can approach and answer. In the East and Midwest, multiple-story elementary schools are quite common, usually because land is scarce and the area very developed. We don't have quite that problem every place in southern Nevada. However, there are other features. An elementary school and all schools need to be handicapped accessible. You can use multiple stories in a larger plant much more successfully you can in a smaller plant. You have more flexibility. There is a great deal of maintenance cost associated with elevators. You use up a lot of space in the building for ramps for that accessibility, and the maintenance cost on a multi-story building is more. You're going to have to pay more to paint on the third story or the fourth story than on the ground.
Okay, well, thank you very much, panelists. We will take a short break now, but when we return, we'll continue on the subject of new construction and overcrowding in our schools.
And don't forget, you can continue to call in with your questions on any topic involving education. We hope to get to it. Here's the number again, 649-3353. Just call in. We'll be right back.
Because your health matters to us, Valley Hospital Medical Center and Channel 3 want you to know more about children's health care.
A common misconception has long been expressed in the saying, a child is just a small adult. But when it comes to their health, that idea does not hold true. Illnesses affect children differently than adults. They require different medical care. When considering health care for your child, choose a physician that is familiar with children and their special needs.
For more information, call Valley Hospital Medical Center at 388-4852.
Sure, customers of Blinds for Less like our prices, but what impresses them most is the fact that when they order their vertical blinds today, they're ready for installation tomorrow. How do we do it? We're the factory, and that's why you get your blinds for less.
Call Blinds for Less at 369-8900 or visit our showroom at 2754 South Highland.
This is Toyotathon's biggest weekend ever.
Kick off Memorial Day in a new Toyota.
Toyota quality, great summer savings.
Toyota dealers will sell 100,000 Toyotas.
Truck of the year? That's right. Past Toyotathon buyers know your Toyota dealer is ready to deal.
We told the salesman what we were prepared to pay. He laughed, and 3 hours later, we drove off the lot with the car we wanted at the price we asked.
Get moving to Toyotathon's biggest weekend ever.
Don't miss it.
Channel 3 honors a class act. Christine Newoffer, Faith Lutheran Junior Senior High School, a class act of 1989. Christy works hard both on and off the campus. In addition to her studies, she's a member of the band, the handbell choir, the senior choir, and is student assistant in music. Christy also works 20 hours a week to fund education.
My goal is to own and operate a nursery daycare.
The more you know about today's seniors, the more you know about tomorrow's leaders. This class act has been brought to you by Channel 3.
Better learn to free.
Back to our program, a Clark County report card. We have three panelists with us from the education system here. Kathy Harney, Executive Director, Comprehensive and Planning, and Dr. Dan Newbern, President of the School Board, and Dr. James Pusley, Associate Superintendent. What is the legislature doing right now about classroom size? There have been some bills submitted, I understand, to legislate that we reduce that classroom size, teacher-student ratio.
I understand that yesterday the Assembly took some action in relation to class size, and there were about 2 or 3 different bills that were proposed, and the one that is moving from the Assembly side is a compromise bill from what I understand, and they're suggesting that there be a 19-to-1 ratio, and hopefully there will be a reduction in class size if the Senate goes along with that. It is something that is definitely needed.
Can you legislate something like that, though? I mean, if you don't have the teachers and the size to do it, how do you
Well,
legislate?
obviously it'd be a difficult thing as it relates to housing, but if we can get the financing to get the teachers, then there are other approaches that might be taken in relation to the adult-student ratio, if you will.
Okay.
But how would you do that, Dr. Pusley? Would you have like 2 classes in one classroom and divide the classes right now so there would be a 15 or 19-to-1 teacher ratio?
There's a possibility, as an example, that you might have 2 teachers in one classroom with some shared responsibilities. There are some staggered approaches that could be used to facilitate that, but obviously the best approach would be to have a teacher with a classroom with a lowered number of students. That would be the pure approach, if you will.
And obviously that will help with the new construction of new buildings. That obviously will help the teacher.
Definitely so,
ratio.
Sure.
Well,
Dr. Newbern, you wanted to say
I think we have to be realistic about the class size reduction. It's a nice phrase, and I think we're all in favor of smaller classes. But the truth of the matter is it's going to be a phased-in period of time. I wouldn't want anybody out there thinking that all of a sudden all elementary classes are going to be 19-to-1. I think the plan is to start with the first grade, then the next year first grade and second grade. So it's not an instantaneous class size reduction because there just hasn't been enough money even requested or proposed to be able to do that. So it sounds wonderful, and we're all for it, but it's a long term before we'll ever get significant class size reduction.
I have another question from a caller, and I don't know if the person's numbers are correct, but they claim that 95,000 students in the system 10 years ago, 100,000 now. Why so many new schools needed for just 5,000 more students? Are the numbers correct?
I think those figures are, I don't think those figures
Those figures are, I would question the validity of the figures. The 100,000 right now is accurate.
Okay.
We were talking about the cost of implementing the program in which student-teacher ratio would be a lot less. I don't know if we'll get to this later on, but at the end of the program we were going to show a little thing on Orrin Gregson Elementary School. I don't know if you've heard about that, but the teachers there are planning a project in which they would come to school an hour ahead of time and stay an hour longer, and that way they would be giving up their, quote, prep time in order to help the kids. And in math and English, I think it was, there would be a lot less students. Now, I think the teachers at Orrin Gregson have said, why doesn't the school district listen to them? They've got this great program, and if dedicated teachers are really dedicated to their profession, all teachers will want to do this.
There are some finances associated with that particular program, and it's called the cost program, and it's a staggered model, if you will, and it's designed to reduce the ratio in reading and math primarily. The reading ratio is lowered by the staggered. The math is lowered by their giving up their prep time, as you indicated, when the kids would go to specialists. Instead of the full class going to the specialist, only half of the class would go at any one time. But there are some finances that are associated with that. You can't just automatically put it in place.
But it's a lot cheaper than what the district is planning, right?
It would be cheaper overall, but there are costs associated with that. For instance, in the planning that is associated with the Gregson project, there was a need to bring in additional portables. The prep time had to be purchased, and there are some other financial factors also.
Yeah, I would be surprised if any of them said, why don't we do this whole district-wide? I'm not saying they didn't say it, but I'd be surprised. As part of the negotiations with the Teachers Association was that they needed a certain period of time for preparation. Now, when they may give up that time, but we buy that time. They don't give it. They don't say, here, we'll go do this instead of taking our prep time for nothing. So we do have to purchase that prep time.
But
Am I correct?
I believe you are correct. Let me say this in regards to that program. The program does have merit, and I think that if we're really going to impact on education in a positive way, then we're going to have to look for new and different ways of doing things, and not simply the old ways of doing things. Right. And that is a new and different way. And for that reason, I consider it to have merit in that respect.
Mm-hmm. The cost program suggests that when you are creative, you might look at some other possibilities too. Not very popular, but if you want to really get double capacity in a building, double sessions. Not very appealing for the younger children, but if you're looking for immediate impact to get twice the use out of a building, that works. A medium approach is the flexible double session, where you have a portion, some overlapping, and we found some positive response on the flexible.
A lot of positive kinds of things have come out of that particular approach. And in relation to the question that was asked earlier about reducing class size, while we don't have the additional facilities, through creative scheduling, if you will, flexible double sessions, then we can lower the ratio, and that we can use a room twice a day.
Okay. Yeah, but the problem, okay, is what is the end that you want to accomplish? What's the purpose for having smaller class size? Mm-hmm. It's for a better education for children.
Obviously.
And class size is just one element of what it takes to bring about a good education for children. Mm-hmm. I happen to think that you have to have strong family involvement. Right. And double sessions, flexible double sessions, have an impact upon the family, which we could debate as to whether if that's a positive or negative impact will maybe even outweigh the class size. So it takes an awful lot of elements to make it work.
Dr. Newbern, we're running out of time for this topic, and we'd like to thank our panelists for this subject. In just a moment, we'll move on to a new panel and the subject of busing and rezoning.
Now, if you have any questions on that subject, please call now. That number, once again, is 649-3353. We'll be back in a moment.
Because your health matters to us, Valley Hospital Medical Center and Channel 3 want you to know more about prenatal care.
Women today are experiencing healthier pregnancies and more comfortable labors through childbirth preparation. We feel a responsibility to provide you with the most comprehensive training program available, from prenatal nutrition through labor preparation to early parenting. There are educational programs available to meet your needs.
For more information about this or other health-related topics, call Valley Hospital Medical Center at 388-4930.
A lot of full-figured women think that they don't look good in dresses. Well, that's just not true. Ampledez has dresses for all figure types and all occasions. Whether you need a dress for work, dinner out, a cocktail party, or even a formal, you'll find it at Ampledez. We have the largest selection in sizes 16 to 32, and at the most affordable prices. At Ampledez, we're your size, and we care about you.
We're challenging the imports at Gauden Ford with exceptional values on America's best-selling, best-built cars and trucks. Compare this Ranger pickup feature for feature with Toyota. With 2.9 financing or $750 cash back, you could own this truck for as little as $89.99. Compare this Escort LX with Honda Civic or Toyota Corolla. For hundreds less than the imports, you could be driving the world's best-selling car. More value for your money. That's how we go the extra mile at Gauden Motor Company, 2121 East Sahara.
Three-time Indy winner Rick Mears has an important announcement.
Happy birthday, Pennzoil.
It's Pennzoil's 100th birthday, but we're giving you the present. 100 new, unique, mid-size Dodge Dakota Sport 4x4s. To enter the Pennzoil 100 giveaway, mail in entry forms found on the back of bottles of quality Pennzoil motor oil, and you could win one of 100 new Dodge Dakota Sport 4x4s. So enter today, and winning could be a piece of cake.
Mention the word busing to some Las Vegas families and they see red. The B word came up many times this past year at school board meetings as a means of easing overcrowding. Lynn Mathis visited with one group of concerned citizens this year and found out some of the most outspoken critics were children.
I feel like if my child is bussed off, therefore I'm getting cut off from the teacher.
Renard Beavers has a third-grade son at Vegas Verde School. Like the other parents who gathered here, Beavers has been notified his child might be bused to a new school 7 miles further from home. If you think the parents are mad, listen to the kids. You're pretty angry.
I'm going to do everything I can to stop.
Michael Crook is upset because he says the busing plan could ultimately mean 3 schools in 3 years for him.
Me, I'm in 4th grade right now. And if I go into 5th grade next year, then I'm going to have to adjust to that school that I'm going to, E.W. Griffith. And then next year I have to go to who knows where for 6th grade.
We hate buses. Well, at least I do. We have to travel at least an hour or less. We want to stay here.
And you want to stay a Viking?
Yeah, and we want to stay at Vegas Verdes because it is a fun school, and they try and make everybody participate in everything that's fun.
And it's not just a matter of school pride. There are some practical things to be taken into consideration, too. The parents say busing will mean the kids will have to leave home at least a half an hour earlier every day, and some of the students will no longer be able to walk to class. Lynn Mathis, News 3.
And for the subject of busing and zoning, we have a new panel with one exception. Kathy Harney still is with us for this panel. And Caruth Hall, who is a bus driver, is here. Welcome. And Yvonne Atkinson Gates, a school board member. And you're the experts on busing and zoning, right?
We hope so.
Okay. We have several calls already on this one. And the first one I want to throw out is actually related to the second one, and that is security on buses. What's being done to children who are disruptive on buses? Who would like to take that one?
Perhaps you'd like to hear from Caruth. He's in the trenches dealing with situations.
Do you see a lot of disruptive activity on buses?
Quite a bit. We see quite a bit, but thanks to John, we have security now where we can use our phones on our buses and get in touch with security in a matter of minutes, and the problem can be solved as quickly as possible.
So you actually call someone on a phone or a two-way, and they send someone out to your bus?
We call our supervisor get in touch with security, and security is on the spot.
Good system? It's working good?
Working beautiful.
Okay.
Okay, great, as long as our buses are more safer. Yvonne Atkinson Gates, we've had a lot of angry parents over busing, over zoning. Hopefully some of that has calmed down by now. You were a big part of the entire thing when the zoning issue was up, not too long ago, just about a month or so ago. Tell us about your feelings about busing, and you take it from there.
Sue, basically, my feelings are is that I don't believe that young students in elementary within certain grade levels, primarily kindergarten to 3rd grade, should be bused. I believe that it is a traumatic feeling for them, especially at such an early age. I believe that the district should implement a plan as it relates to integration, as it relates to busing, that will do several things. Provide a safety aspect for all children and try to bus them to neighborhoods which are close to their homes.
Mm-hmm. But many times, can we achieve the integration without busing far distances?
Let's put it this way. The emphasis should not be placed upon busing. It should be placed upon education. And the program, the desegregation program, as it relates to busing, that the district currently has, did not look at that emphasis. It was not placed upon education, but it was in fact placed upon busing. And I think that we need to reevaluate the current plan and come up with a system that looks at education and try to improve the achievement of all students in terms of that educational process, and then look at busing.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. Not too long ago, there was a lot of information that said black children who had been bused, they're bused, 11 years out of the 12 years, and their grades were much poorer than the white kids who are bused only 1 year to the 6th grade centers. You had come out, you were pretty angry about that, as were a lot of the black leaders in our community, and you had come up with some ideas in which you would be presenting to the school board maybe on how to achieve better quality education for some of the black kids without busing them so far away.
That's pretty much true, Sue. Basically, what we have is we have a system that, as I indicated earlier, bus kids, and they're not looking and placing the emphasis on education. I believe that minority kids and students who come from low socioeconomic homes, their test scores are low. That is based upon several factors, one of which, in my opinion, is related to busing. I believe that if a student had the opportunity to attend a school closer to their homes, then they could have parental involvement, they can have school pride, they can be involved in many after-school projects that they're not able to be involved with. And the current busing system or the current integration plan or desegregation plan does not focus upon education. Usually what happens is students, the minority students who begin the system, Clark County School District, are usually 3 years behind when they begin, and that is because they're not properly prepared in many cases before they start. And I happen to think that there are so many innovative programs out there that, first of all, deals with education, and then secondly, deals with busing.
Okay, well, thank you very much, panelists. When we come back, we will move on to the subject of violence in our schools and what is being done to protect your child.
And
We'll
again,
be right back.
your questions at 649-3353. We'll try to get them to our panel. Stay with us.
Liz Jessup teaches reading to 30 first graders. Imagine how much more they'd learn in a class of 15. Peggy Gant teaches science without adequate resources. Imagine what she could do with enough lab equipment for each student. A mother of 4, Lonnie Stevenson, works a second job to make ends meet. Imagine if she could devote that extra time to preparing for school. We need more funding for education now. The Nevada legislature must decide.
It's Gabriel Jewelers' biggest spring sale ever. Both locations feature handcrafted jewelry on sale at savings of up to 50%. Diamond wedding sets starting at only $119. Custom designed baguette diamond rings and loose diamonds priced way below appraised value. All birthstone jewelry is on sale, like a beautiful custom designed mother's ring in gold, only $55. Gabriel Jewelers even has fine watches from Seiko, Citizen, Bulova, and Juvenia marked down 30%. Shop now and Gabriel Jewelers will inscribe your gift free. The spring sale at Gabriel Jewelers.
Where there's a Wilden, there's a way.
At Wilden's Pride Dodge, the way is straight to the head of the class. With selection, our largest ever, and financing, the lowest ever. 0% financing. The first choice of every student for style is a sporty '89 Dodge Daytona for $79.95. For savings, you can't find a better car than this '89 Dodge Spirit for $89.75. You'll graduate to the finest. They wrote the book on value. Wilden's Pride Dodge on West Sahara at Decatur.
Pride Dodge.
Can I get this tomorrow? You want it when? Tomorrow!
Getting alterations done quickly has always been a real problem. But not with C&R's Express Tailoring. For a small service charge, normal alterations will be done by tomorrow.
Yeah, we can have this for you by tomorrow. Tomorrow? Tomorrow!
Buy your suit, sport coat, or slacks today, and you can have it ready tomorrow. Express Tailoring, only at C&R.
One story that grabbed the headlines this spring was the shooting near Bonanza High School. 2 people were killed as school let out Friday, March 10th. The tragedy rocked the community as parents and students alike were fearful of what might happen next. Dan Munson gives us this look at what's happened since the case in March.
School bells ringing were echoed by the sound of a shotgun blast that fateful Friday afternoon. Gunned down were Lino Abakaheen and Jeffrey Randrup. Police say the shooting was gang-related.
I never even dreamed that something like that would happen this close to home. It's something I see on the news that happens in Northtown or, not here.
At the victims' funerals, hundreds of friends and family members came to pay tribute. Many wore T-shirts honoring the dead, emblazoned with Pinoy Boys and Asian Gang. At the time, there was talk of revenge.
He took 2 people's lives, and I think his life should be taken away. I want him to feel pain because they felt pain.
Mr. Smith, is that your true name on the indictment?
Yes, sir.
Michael Smith has been indicted in the murders. He surrendered to police shortly after the shooting. He's been ordered to stand trial on the charges next month. And left in the wake of the violence, fear and concern.
We were petrified. When I went to work last night, I told my children, don't you go outside. Don't go outside.
Dan Munson, News 3.
That story certainly sets the pace for this next segment in security and violence in our school system. And we have a new panel for this topic, including Dr. Brian Cram, the interim superintendent of our schools, Ray Morgan, the associate superintendent of secondary education, and John Breed, a security guard. And John, you have been on our news before. You're a person who watches the security at Valley High School, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you get a first-hand look at some of what happens in our schools. Give us an example of some of the violence you've seen.
I haven't seen a great amount of violence. Most of the violence is a couple boys maybe having fisticuffs or having an argument over a girl, or a couple girls arguing over boys.
So you're probably like a lot of the people in the school district. You feel like it's really been overexposed and given way too much attention, more than it's really merited.
I think most of the gang problem is really off the campus. We have gang members attending the school, but most, like I said, most of the activity is generally off the school. Get some graffiti across the road from us, and most people go out and paint their fence again. And if we have a problem with a gang member, we take them right up to the dean's office as soon as we find out, even if it was off campus.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Morgan, you being the principal of Bonanza High School, you've just been moved to the Education Center, pulling double duty now. But that was a little close to home. Did you expect anything like that to happen in a place, in a community like where Bonanza High School is?
Sue, we really never had any indication of that anything like that could happen. We really didn't believe it could happen out in our part of the town. I guess you kind of get insulated and you think those kinds of things can't go on. We hadn't had any real gang activities at school. We had no indication of anything was going to be happening that afternoon, and when it did, we were all very shocked.
So what can we do now to tighten security, to ease the fears of some of these parents and these students? I understand a lot of them were afraid to go to school. They didn't know what to do, how they can be assured of their safety.
Well, there was a lot of anxiety, of course, right after the incident. Not only was it a tragedy for the boys that were killed and their parents and their family, but this tragedy was felt by the students at Bonanza High School, and of course there was some that were scared for their security. As it turned out, during that next week we kept hearing rumors that there might be retaliation. None ever came about. We geared up for our security during that week a great deal. The fact of it was probably over 10,000 hours of student education was missed just because of that incident that week. Our attendance didn't pick up until after the spring break, as a matter of fact.
Dr. Cram, one caller has phoned in with this question. Does the Clark County school system provide drug or alcohol rehabilitation centers?
Yes, we do. We run after school schools in drug rehabilitation and alcohol abuse. Students are referred there by the various schools. We also cooperate rather closely with a number of community agencies that deal with this subject. And in our health classes, we have what I think is a very comprehensive coverage of drug and alcohol abuse.
Are teachers required or relied on as spotters for these students? Are they referred by teachers? Or?
Our staffs are trained to watch for students that may have problems like this, and generally they're referred to the counselor office or a direct referral to the dean. We're watching for it more and more.
Okay, we do have another question from a caller. Dr. Cram or Mr. Morgan, you may want to tackle this one. They said that their child has been beaten up before at school, and the parent has also been threatened. What is a parent to do in a situation like this?
I think I'll try that one.
Okay.
Generally, if there is a threat to the student on the campus, we'd ask that they go to school authorities. That's something we do not permit and will not accept. If the parent has been threatened, if it's something that's occurred off our campus, we suggest that they call Metropolitan Police Department and file a complaint against the person that's putting forth the threat. We also, as a school, would like to be notified of that, although we cannot take the same action the Metropolitan Police Department can. We're concerned about that, and we'd like to know anything that's related to the safety of the child.
Okay, thank you very much, panelists. We are receiving more calls, and we invite you to call us in on this subject of school safety and security, and we will take a break right now, but when we come back, we'll get to more of your questions.
And once again, the number to call, 649-3353, and we'll be right back.
Channel 3 honors a class act.
Tara Pike, Valley High School, a class act of 1989. Maintaining a 3.7 GPA is not enough to keep Tara busy. She is also an executive board member of the Key Club, a Sun Youth Forum member, and she belongs to the art and ski clubs.
I think I'm helpful. I think I help people, and I think that I'm a good friend.
The more you know about today's seniors, the more you know about tomorrow's leaders. This class act has been brought to you by Channel 3.
Got to go to Leather
Because your health matters to us, Valley Hospital Medical Center and Channel 3 want you to know more about dental care.
Busy parents may be faced with finding someone to care for a sick child. Gentle Care, a specialized care program for mildly ill children, is offered as a service to the community by Valley Hospital. We give them individualized care, nutritious meals, and lots of TLC to make them feel better. And that makes you feel better, too.
For more information about this or other health-related topics, call Valley Hospital Medical Center at 388-9618.
For that authentic Western look, there's one place folks have depended on for 38 years. Adams Western Store on Western. And it's easy to figure out why. Adams Western Store has everything from the finest boots and Western shirts to a complete line of saddles and tack for that special horse in your life. Choose from a great selection of first-quality no-Kona boots, all priced at 20% off. Beautiful no-Kona snakeskin boots, regularly $235 are now just $188 at Adams, your no-Kona headquarters. For the best values in the West, it's Adams Western Store, 1415 Western, your Western store on Western.
Wheel Deal, we want Wheel Deal, we want Wheel Deal.
Channel 3 has been making Wheel Deal 3 more fun and easier to play than ever before. Watch for the new Wheel Deal 3 when it premieres June 12th on Channel 3.
One obvious way to combat the growing violence around school campuses is to add more security officers. And right now there is a proposal in the works to add 24 more officers to the current force. We visited one high school this year where word of extra security came as welcome news.
I think anybody would be a fool to say that you can provide maximum security for all personnel on a campus. We do the very best we can.
That's why Mike Edwards is pushing for a plan that would add more security officers to the school district. That means all big high schools would have at least 2 security guards stationed on campus. But the major focus of the plan is to provide mobile security officers who could travel from campus to campus. They would try and quench vandalism at elementary and junior high schools and help officers at other schools. John Breed of Valley High School welcomes more officers.
Well, one day I had three carloads of gang members drive through. In fact, 2 of the cars didn't have any license plates at all, and the one car had wired license plates on. And they just drove through and then left the campus, and I had really nobody to call.
The plan also calls for an addition of mobile units to the transportation division. Those officers would be responsible for any problems that would arise on school buses.
We really need a force to kind of follow those buses back into neighborhoods and deal with any kind of violence that might occur.
Security's around, there'll be less of any violence or any vandalism around.
You can't walk alone nowadays in some schools because you get jumped, you get beat up.
As we did see from that story, there are a lot of students that are afraid to be on campus, to go on campus. They don't know what to do. We touched on that just a little bit. Dr. Krem, I'd like you to answer, what is the latest? We heard last that there would be more mobile units added to our security patrol units. What is the latest on that, and what can parents and students expect?
Well, we have a philosophic commitment to more security on the campuses. We have a proposal that is coming before our board that will ask for additional security beyond what we've already allocated, and there have been some additional officers added recently. I believe the number is 4, isn't that right, Officer Breeden, recently that we've had added in terms of mobile units. And so we've started part of the measures. We will have additional security coming in the future.
What's the time frame? When we say future, I bet parents are thinking, well, when can we expect this? Do we know?
I guess the time estimate I would give would be by the start of the next school year.
John, do you carry a handgun while you're on patrol? Would you feel safer with one? What's the current status of that?
I understand the policy is that each principal makes that decision whether you carry a weapon on campus or you carry it, like my principal decided that I don't carry it on campus. I'm allowed to carry it at athletic functions, dances, after school.
Do you feel there's really a need for it in your instance?
I don't. I follow policy and rules as a professional police officer.
Have you ever had to draw it?
personally, I feel that an officer should be allowed to carry a weapon if he's a professional. I've been in the police profession for 30 years, and in order to effect a felony arrest or for the protection of the students and the staff members, and I think it's a great deterrent. I don't see people coming on campus and challenge you, especially non-students and gang members, if you're carrying a weapon. Okay. And I think if the biggest problem is that they need to hire more security supervisors to make sure that police officers carry out policies professionally.
Okay, John.
John, I know we've talked about this before, but maybe one of these other gentlemen, maybe Mr. Morgan, can answer. There was some sort of a discussion on changing the name of these security officers from just security officers to, I can't remember quite what it was a police officer or peace officer, to give you more strength and more authority, and that would maybe help you with the students. Mr. Morgan, I don't know if you'd like to answer that.
I think that that was a recommendation. There was a committee of citizens and Metro police officers and teachers and educators that studied this whole security problem during this past year. And one of the recommendations that committee made was that what we now call security officers would be called peace officers, and the security officers felt that that would give them more authority on the campus, and I don't know whether that's true or not, frankly, but if they feel that way, it's fine with me.
Okay, John, do you think that would make you feel a little stronger on campus?
Well, really, the authority is granted to us under the state statutes, and that's what we enforce: state statutes and county ordinances and school rules. I think to be called a police officer or a peace officer is more professional, and people understand that you have that authority to carry out and enforce the state statutes, like I said, and city ordinances, where if they think of you as a guard, they don't think you have that authority. And I think it would be one way of improving the security by calling us either police officers or peace officers.
Thank you all, gentlemen, for your cooperation on this topic of security and violence on school. From here on out, we plan to answer any questions that fall under the broad category of education.
So if you want to know more about test scores, district attendance policy, or the people who are teaching your kids, call now. That number, once again, 649-3353. We'll be right back.
Because your health matters to us, Valley Hospital Medical Center and Channel 3 want you to know more about choosing the right doctor.
In today's busy world, many people find themselves choosing a doctor under stressful circumstances. Before an emergency happens, give yourself the peace of mind in knowing you've taken the time to select a doctor that's right for you and your family. It's a step towards good health. Choosing the right doctor can make a relationship that will last a lifetime.
For more information about this or other health-related topics, call Valley Hospital Medical Center at 388-4852.
Curtis has it down to a science for a large or small appliance.
Hi, I'm Nick Herta, and every day our customers are telling their friends how much they save here at Herta's Appliance Warehouse. Like the Zenith SE1314W color TV for just $227, or the Zenith VRS60 VHS recorder with on-screen programming, yours for only $297 or $1125 a month. So when it comes to great savings on major name brands, every day friends tell friends about Herta's Discount Appliance Warehouse.
We're celebrating Memorial Day by having a Memorial Day sale for 2 weeks only right here at the all-new Toyota West in Las Vegas, where low down payments deliver. I know what you're saying to yourself. You're saying, hey, what's in it for me? How about this brand new 89 Toyota Camry? Or we got a brand new Toyota 4x4. Ooh, are you ready? $99.66 or $166 a month. Right here for you at the all-new Toyota West in Las Vegas. Give us a call, 871-4111.
Dateline, October 1987. Teresa Capps becomes Channel 3's Wheel Deal 3 spokesmodel. April 1989. Teresa is discovered by a major talent agency and moves to Hollywood. Could you be the next Wheel Deal 3 spokesmodel to find fame and fortune? You'll find out when Channel 3 holds auditions at the Boulevard Mall on May 30th from 3 to 7 p.m. Applications are available at all Slotsky's and Shakey's Pizza locations. Fame and fortune could be yours.
Teachers in Clark County schools say the district is giving students a license to ditch. They say the new attendance policy for high school students is defeating the purpose of education. Here's more on the policy and how students are abusing it.
A typical class at Bonanza High School. Most of the students are here today, but teachers say since the new attendance policy went into effect in January, the absentee rate has increased 30 to 40% in some classes and even 50% in others. The new policy was put into effect after parents complained that students with legitimate excuses were being removed after they reached 18 or more absences. The new rule has no lid on absences. If students reach 15 or more, they are just placed in an alternative after-school class. Teachers say even if students have 40 absences, only 15 are recorded.
The kids know they have the days that they can take off. They know that if they get sick, they can bring a note from a doctor, so those don't count. So they figure they have 14 or 15 free days that they can cut school and be gone without a parent's note, without anything.
Teachers say the new policy has minimized the potential for education because parents and students are no longer held accountable for absences.
I think that that is the travesty to education that is happening right now, that we're allowing them the freedom to make up their minds, and yet somewhere along the line they're not ready for that yet.
Students say the new attendance policy has become profitable for some kids. They say these students are selling doctor stationery to have absences removed.
Like kids that have doctors as parents or whatever, they'll get a hold of them and some of them have pre-signed, you know, they already have like their signature stamped on them. I've even skipped school on days when I would normally not do that.
Teachers say the new policy will eventually increase the failure rate because students won't bother to come to class, and they say they will eventually be blamed.
We have spoken with many teachers about this new attendance policy, and they don't like it one bit. They want this whole policy to be changed. They say that there should be less excused absences and that parents should be notified every time a child misses classes. That used to be the case, but not anymore. We've got a teacher right here, John Snyder. As a matter of fact, he's our Teacher of the Year here in Clark County. John, you're a teacher at Chaparral High School. What have you seen regarding this new attendance policy, and what do you think about it?
Well, in my own classroom, I have a group of very highly motivated students, and personally, I haven't seen a great deal of change in the attendance. However, I have noticed in the memos that you get each day talking about who's excused and who's been suspended and things like that, a kind of an interesting phenomenon in that one of the things that is available is a prearranged medical absence, which doesn't count. And we find out prearranged medical absences show up a month or two later. Now, I'm not sure the technicalities on this, but it has always struck me funny. But in my own classroom, I really haven't noticed a whole lot of change.
Okay, John Snyder, thank you. I do want to introduce the other panelists that we have here. We have Alan Chandler, who's also a principal at James McMillan Elementary School, and that is year-round school. And we also have Dr. James Pusley. Welcome back once again. He was on our panel before.
In fact, Sue, I've got a question from one of our callers just for Alan Chandler, and
okay.
It concerns this question, and it's, the person has a concern about why there's no parental notification. Why aren't parents properly notified about this policy when a child is excluded or not counted in for attendance? So excluded from school after 16 absences, tardy, being sent home, and no parental notification. Is that true or not?
In the elementary school, the policy that's been adopted as far as attendance was for the 9th through the 12th grade. Mm-hmm. The attendance policy was not developed for the elementary school, and we do not exclude students as a result of excessive absence. Mm-hmm. If we have a youngster who's missing a lot of school, and if it's for reasons for which he has no control, and we suspect that the parent should be providing some assistance, then we can get the authorities involved in terms of educational neglect, or prior to that, of course, we would try to get the parents involved and ask their assistance in then getting the children to school.
Okay. And Dr. Pusley, what does a child need who perhaps is transferring from out of state into our school system, into kindergarten? What kind of things should the parent prepare?
Well, if they're coming in from out of state, they would need a birth certificate or something that gives proof of birth and identity, date of birth and identity. And of course, they'd need their immunization records as well. and school records and that kind of thing would be helpful in terms of placement and so forth. But basically, the birth certificate or and the records in relation to previous school attendance.
It should be fairly simple for most parents to acquire those
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, do we have more time for some questions? I guess we do. We haven't heard more from the back room. One thing I do want to say is, I don't know if anyone is qualified to answer this or not, but a lot of teachers about the new attendance policy had questioned that didn't the people at the education center, couldn't they see this coming, that a lot of students would be using these absences as, quote, free absences, that now their parents don't have to be notified until after 15 absences. I don't know if you can answer that, Dr. Pusley, or not. Maybe you hear things at the education center. Have you heard talk around there that, wow, we made the wrong decision?
I am at a disadvantage in responding to that, and that my focus has been elementary education. But I believe that the policy was put in place with the idea that it would be reviewed based on the experience itself. And I'm sure that if that is a concern, it will be reviewed and appropriate changes would be made if they're warranted.
Okay, I'm sure parents are happy to hear about that.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your answers. There's still time to get some questions in. When we come back, we'll talk to Interim Superintendent Brian Cram for his views on what's ahead next.
Many of us believe that community involvement is only for other people, people with lots of spare time and special talents. But there is another way to be involved, and it just means being aware of events happening in your neighborhood and capturing them with your home video equipment. If you can do this, you can be a News 3 News Hound. Apply today to be part of News Hound 3.
This month's Best News Hound video will be awarded this $629 NEC VCR from Videotime. Pick up your News Hound application at any Videotime.
Palm Mortuary announces its 24th annual Memorial Day services, Monday, May 29th. The first service will be at 9 a.m. in the chapel at Palm Valley View Memorial Park. The later service will be at 11 a.m. in the downtown Palm Mortuary Chapel. The services are under the direction of the American Legion, and Memorial Day tributes will be given by various government officials. For more information, call 382-1340. Palm Mortuary, we care.
We're cooking up hot Memorial Day savings that won't last long. Tremendous buys throughout Walker's showroom with super savings store-wide. You won't believe the hot buys on sofas, dining rooms, bedding, recliners, and more. Get 12 months free financing or an additional 6% off for paying cash. Furnish your home now and get great savings today. Hurry! Walker's Memorial Day sale ends soon with store-wide savings, 12 months free financing, and an additional 6% off. It's too hot to handle. Walker Furniture. You'll like what you see. You'll love what you save.
Don't drink and drive. That's the first step in having a safe Memorial Day holiday.
Take the first step.
Finally, we have found a cure for diabetes. I can't wait for the day I make that announcement. We're not there yet, but it can happen. For over 16 years, JDF has been funding exciting achievements in diabetes research. The Juvenile Diabetes Foundation. With your help, we will be known as the people who cured diabetes.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. And right now, you see we only have one panelist. It is Dr. Brian Cram, our interim superintendent. But that may change soon. After last night's school board meeting, Dr. Cram, you're probably one happy person. It seems like maybe next week, possibly, the school board may vote to give you at least a 1- or 2-year contract and give you a permanent position for that time. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I'm, of course, delighted. I feel like a long-term contract will give me the opportunity to carry out some programs that I have in mind.
We have a caller, Dr. Cram, who says if they would like to know if the school board would at least look into other candidates so that you know that you're the top candidate after they've considered others.
Yeah, that's a subject to some debate. You can take two philosophic positions. One is that you have someone in your own community that you have confidence in that seems to be performing at a satisfactory level. You take a chance on someone you don't know, an unknown quantity coming from another area. I tend to favor the local applicant, of course.
How do you answer your opponents who say that you're just already too entrenched in the political system underneath the school board here and the school system to be a fresh new superintendent?
I think the answer, of course, is the bottom line. I proposed a number of changes that people consider significant. that will bring the emphasis into the classroom where the student is. And I think that the things that have occurred thus far, people think are significantly different than what we had before.
Dr. Cram, we do have a question here from somebody. You did make some changes when you got into the administrative position that you are in now. You eliminated some of your deputy superintendent positions, and this caller wants to know why that was done. What justifies those movements concerning some of the other administrative positions that were moved?
Basically, my philosophy was that I wanted to reduce the number of levels between myself and the building principals. And so what I did was eliminate a layer of bureaucracy or bureaucrats or administrators, I don't mean that in a negative sense, that existed. So what I did was reduce the number of levels between myself and the individual schools.
Okay. I have another question here. What is the school board doing to facilitate the physically challenged? I don't know if you've approached that before or not, but that's a good question. I haven't seen a lot of handicapped facilities at the schools.
Actually, the handicap facilities are excellent at the schools. We meet all OSHA requirements, all standard requirements for ramps, for facilities for the handicapped. I would think that we'd actually be one of the better districts in the country in terms of dealing with that issue.
And Dr. Cram, another caller who wants to know if the school boards entertain the idea of recruiting teachers nationwide. Are you doing any of that now? Or?
Yes, we do that. We have a very extensive recruiting program, and we go all over the country and attempt to recruit teachers. Our needs are tremendous. Our growth is going to be significant, as you know, and so we have to, just to exist, have to recruit from other areas.
I know we've got a lot of new schools planned to be built. Is that enough? Are we keeping up with the growth, even with that?
We're basically keeping up at this point, but our great difficulty is if you look at our salary, our beginning salary, especially compared with other salaries from surrounding states such as California, you find that it's very difficult for us to compete in the market because it's not unusual for surrounding states to start out $4,000 or $5,000 higher at the beginning salary level. So it's very difficult for us to compete on some occasions.
I understand we do have a really good recruiting effort, even though our salaries aren't very high. How do we get our teachers here, and how do we get the best ones here?
Well, I think we start early. We work very hard at it. Our community has some tremendous assets. As you know, I'm a local resident here. I grew up in Las Vegas, and Las Vegas has some real advantages for people. We get out and sell the advantages. We have a very fine community with a lot of advantages, and I think we can sell that.
Where do you stand with the Clark County Teachers Association? Do you feel you have good relations with them?
Well, I think it would be excellent. Basically, we have in common the fact that we believe the classroom and the individual child is the most important entity in our school district.
Here's a good one. How do Nevada high school graduates compare academically to their peers nationwide?
Generally, we'd be above the national average. That should be balanced out with the fact that our funding is significantly below the national average, so were we a business, we'd have a lot of investors, because for the amount of money we invest, we get a rather substantial reward. We wish to be higher, and we intend to be higher, and if I have my way, we will be higher, but we're faced with the fact in terms of expenditures, we're down toward the bottom, as you know. In terms of product, we're above the average.
One question I'd like to get in. Teachers, I think that's been a big concern. Teacher salaries are low here. A lot of teachers are concerned, and parents are concerned. They want to bring in the best possible teachers. What are we doing to increase the salaries of our teachers here? It seems like we're not doing anything, is what teachers say.
Our great difficulty is that rests in the hands of the legislature. That's where the bulk of our money emulates from. We have to have more money placed in the schools for us to use. The vast majority of our budget is in salaries. And if we don't have more money coming from the state, we simply cannot offer higher salaries.
Thank you very much, and we'd like to thank all of our panelists. Actually, we'd also like to thank all of those who phoned in tonight with questions.
Yeah, and if you didn't get your questions answered here this evening, we have a number where you can call. It's 799-5304.
And that number for the Clark County School District, so please call that if you have further questions, and we'd like to thank you for watching tonight. Have a good
night.
Evening.
The More You Know About Education, a Clark County report card, has been brought to you in part by Valley Hospital Medical Center, home of Flight for Life.
Channel 3 has been making Wheel Deal 3 more fun and easier to play than ever before. Watch for the new Wheel Deal 3 when it premieres June 12th on Channel 3.
Nice suit. Sale at Bullock's, right?
No sale. C&R.
No sale. Must have cost a bundle.
Well, not really. C&R's everyday prices are usually lower than department store sale prices.
And C&R never charges for normal alterations. Not even on sale items.
Unlike Bullock's. C&R, because you deserve more.
Nice suit. C&R.
Now you don't need a country kitchen for great country chicken. McDonald's introduces the new country-style McChicken sandwich. Because you don't need to know country cooking to love all white breast meat and a crisp country coating. Don't need a recipe for special country seasonings. All you need is new country-style McChicken at McDonald's.
No matter what your summer fun is, cool it off with a super-sized serving of Coke Classic in a squeezable bottle. Just $1.39 at participating McDonald's.
Tonopah celebrates Jim Butler Days in the wild and woolly era when men were men, mules were ornery, and women were downright hard to find. The whole town is turning out for the street dance, craft show, a parade, horseshoe throwing, cookouts, fiddlers contest, stock car races, and that's not the half of it. Don't miss Jim Butler Days in Tonopah, May 26th through the 29th.
Pick up your Newshound application at any video time.